Welcome to BNEWS Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher along with BNEWS Director Rich Hosford, BNEWS reporters Tad Stefanak, Chris Flaherty, and Robert Paris, Peter Brown with the weather, Jolie Atwood with community calendar, and Liz Gillespie is back with us this week with sports. Thank you for joining us. Short-term house or apartment rentals with stays less than a month are now prohibited in Burlington. Town meeting voted to both add a definition of short-term rentals to the zoning bylaw use table and then prohibit them, at least for the time being, during Monday night's session. The warrant article came from the Planning Board through the Board of Selectmen. Planning Director Kristen Kastner said prohibiting short-term rentals of 28 days or fewer was not the initial plan, but due to the current situation with COVID-19 pandemic, they thought it was the prudent thing to do. She said some short-term rentals were being used for house parties with no social distancing. Planning Board Chair Barbara LaRue said many residents would join their meetings when this was discussed, and most were against these types of rental situations. Kastner said that when the pandemic is over, it is possible they could take another look at short-term rentals and see if there are places in town they could be allowed. Town meeting voted to define short-term rentals and prohibit them by a vote of 79 to 12, meeting the two-thirds requirements. No word yet as to whether or not this will generate a lawsuit. Burlington will no longer allow the development of self-storage units in town thanks to a town meeting warrant article that passed almost unanimously. The article was proposed by Precinct 7 members Betsy Hughes and Dave Webb and was placed on the warrant by the Board of Selectmen. Hughes spoke on the article to the legislative body and began with some background about the self-storage industry. She said self-storage is the least expensive and highest yielding type of property with high returns, low maintenance, and employing only one on-site manager. She added the land that is used is usually not desirable for other developments such as office buildings or apartments. Building costs are low with little plumbing, concrete floors with no windows, no trim, and almost completely free from maintenance. Tenants move into the units with no involvement or oversight from the on-site manager once they sign the contract, and move out with no effort on the part of the owner, and if they don't pay, their things are auctioned and the unit rented to another tenant. Hughes explained that one such business, Jumbo Self-Storage, purchased property on Blanchard Road on a piece of land that most thought was undevelopable, and because there was no reason to deny them in the bylaws, were approved to build a 5-story, 1,000-unit storage facility. She said given Burlington's push for high-end technologically advanced companies, these businesses do not fit with the direction the town wants to go. It seemed the other town meeting members agreed with her, with not a single question asked or counterpoint made. They voted to change the zoning bylaws to first add a definition of self-storage and then change the retail, consumer, and trade use table to make new businesses of this kind not allowed. The final vote was 82 to 5. In March, all attention turned to the coronavirus pandemic, and it seemed as if most other issues were pushed out of the public consideration. However, those suffering from opioid addiction continued to struggle, even as meetings in person counseling were canceled. BNEWS Director Rich Hosford spoke to the Burlington Police Department's opioid help leadership and has this report on how support has continued and evolved during the pandemic. Let's have a look.
The opioid crisis has been big news for the last couple of years. That is, until March of this year when all focus turned to the coronavirus pandemic. But just because the focus was off the issue doesn't mean those suffering from addiction were any less in need of assistance. I spoke to those involved in the Police Assisted Addiction and Recovery Initiative, also known as PERI, about what happened to addiction assistance when the pandemic struck.
You just saw everything shut down. So that was any type of outside social resource like an AA meeting, anything like that, they just shut down. Whether they're held in a hall or a church, they didn't want the exposure of people coming and sitting with 50 plus people in a room. You had treatment centers that the admission process was halted. So people couldn't even get access to treatment, never mind continue on to the next level of care. If they were in-house, everything just kind of paused.
People in recovery depend on consistent therapy, meetings, and counseling to maintain their progress.
Structure is very important. Being somewhere having accountability to keep you on the right path, then transitions over to you just continuing the right thing with your recovery specifically. So to have all those resources just shut down, people's lives were kind of turned upside down and inside out. So that relatability and that Monday night meeting that you're used to going to, where you're seeing people of a like-minded conscience, where you can relate and get the support you need, when you lose that, you don't know what to do. So it's very much like getting up in the morning. If you don't have gas in your car, you're not making it to work. If you're not getting this support from people that are in the same predicament as you and can understand, you can't move on in life. That affects your day-to-day basis. So when your recovery isn't where it needs to be, it can be a domino effect to affecting every other area of your life.
On top of having normal support fall away, the stress of living through a pandemic and an economic downturn exacerbated the problem for many people suffering from addiction.
And there's definitely been an uptick in drug-related incidences. I also work in the treatment field, so I see it on that side as well. But there's definitely more calls happening with drugs are involved, overdoses are up. They have the education with Narcan and things like that. But with COVID comes added stressors of people have lost their jobs. They're relying on unemployment benefits. You now have parents working from home that are also trying to work and homeschool their children. So all these added stressors make staying in recovery very difficult, especially when those resources have now gone by the wayside.
If anything, it's only the COVID pandemic has only exacerbated these needs and these situations where people are coping in town because of the added stress of living with the coronavirus. Now, fortunately, things are getting better, but no doubt about it, if anything, there was an uptick in the need, and it's so important that we have those resources there for people who really, really do need that assistance.
Fortunately, over the months since March, best practices for delivering care have developed and support is available.
You have a lot of, say, therapy or counseling appointments that are being done in person, social distancing with masks, which is great, but a lot of them are still telehealth. And so that's using, Zoom or something through the computer where you're talking to your therapist through a computer screen or through your phone. So it's very different, and that's, you have to adapt to that, and it's helpful, but that personal one-on-one contact is still missing. So that's a big important part of staying in recovery, is that relatability and seeing people firsthand. But at least we've figured out a way to continue the resource so that you can talk to your therapist or do AA meetings via Zoom.
We're busy. We're seeing additional people needing this assistance, and we keep reaching out and doing what we got to do to provide that for people.
If you or someone you love is in need of assistance, you can contact Perry's Margie Taylor at 978-219-4885. From the Burlington Police Department, I'm BNEWS Director Rich Hosford.
A discount retail chain is in the process of occupying a long vacant space. Dollar Tree was before the Zoning Board of Appeals on Tuesday night for a signage hearing for 180 Cambridge Street. The property is the empty space next to Shaw's that had been previously occupied by Booza Wine and Spirits before it moved to the Crossroads Plaza and then subsequently closed. Dollar Tree, Inc. is an American chain of discount variety stores that sells items for $1 or less. It is headquartered in Chesapeake, Virginia, and operates over 15,000 stores in the United States and Canada. The issue at the ZBA meeting was about the size of the signage and what types of lighting it would employ. Attorney Mark Vaughn of Reamer and Bronstein represented Dollar Tree, Shaw's, and the Shaw parent company, Albertsons Companies. Shaw's Albertson is the property owner, so we're involved in the proceedings. Vaughn presented a couple of options to the board for their review. He said they were requesting a 30-inch letters that had internal lights. After some discussion, members of the board said they would prefer gooseneck lights that are above the letters and shine down on them. Alternatively, they said a 24-inch sign with internal lighting would also be acceptable. Vaughn said the purpose of signage is to let people navigate to the business, and they have to be able to see the signs for this to work. He said the 30-inch sign would be large enough to do that. Members of the board, however, said they thought a 30-inch sign with internal lighting would not fit in with the characteristics of the downtown area. In the end, they settled on a 30-inch sign with 6 gooseneck lights. The signage was approved with two conditions. The first was that Dollar Tree honor a condition of a previous occupant and complete the facade on the side of the building facing Cambridge Street. The second had to do with a sign on Shaw's building for Osco Pharmacy. Members said that when Shaw's signage was approved in 2003, there was no sign for Osco in the plans. They conditioned the Dollar Tree signage on Shaw's Albertson, getting that sign into compliance. Dollar Tree representatives said they plan to open by mid-November. After 30 years of service with the Burlington Fire Department, Selectman Mike Runyan has retired. BNEWS reporter Chris Flaherty recently had a conversation with Mr. Runyan, looking back on his career and service to the town of Burlington in and out of the department.
After 31 years of service, Mike Runyan has stepped down from his position with the Burlington Fire Department. A lifelong town resident, Mike began his career as a dispatcher and was appointed to the fire department a few years later.
I had an incredible 31-year career here, and I am forever grateful to the town of Burlington for that opportunity. Just amazing. I couldn't be more proud of working for the town and working here at the Burlington Fire Department. A lot of changes over the years.
In his 31 years, Mike has watched the department evolve and adapt, facing the fallout of September 11th, the threats of anthrax and hazardous waste, the installation of a new paramedic program, and the renovations of Fire Station 2.
The job is always evolving, and the Burlington Fire Department has done an outstanding job redirecting their efforts and their training and the equipment and stuff, things like that, to deal with the challenges of the day.
What sticks out in his memory the most is the quality time spent with his fellow firefighters.
It's hard to leave. I never really considered it a job. It's almost more of a hobby. I had a lot of laughs here, a lot of good times with the guys, great people to work with. You know, people say, you spend more time here at the fire station than you do at home during your career. And so that's true. So it's like a family, and I'm sure that you speak to anybody working there today or who had retired before me, and they'll tell you the same thing.
Mike has been active in the community outside of his time with the department, having a seat on the Board of Selectmen since 2012, and been involved with multiple organizations such as the 4th of July Committee, the Housing Authority, Council on Aging, and more. He hopes to continue to be involved and give back to the town.
Like I told you, I really love it. I particularly love working with the seniors here in town. It just comes natural to me to just keep myself busy and get myself involved. You know, getting that job here with the town really sort of inspired me to give back a little bit, and that's what I've been doing, and I intend to continue to do so.
We at BNews wish Mike the very best in the next chapter of his life. Until next time, this is Chris Flaherty for BNews Weekly.
Every child in Burlington can get a free breakfast and lunch thanks to funding from the United States Department of Agriculture. BPS Director of Food Services Karen DeMasso said in a letter the USDA extended a waiver that allows schools to serve breakfast and lunch to all students as late as December 31st, 2020, or as long as funding is available. What this means is any child aged 0 to 21 will receive a healthy breakfast and lunch every school day at no cost in a safe and welcoming environment. This applies to students who are attending classes in school or virtual classes at home or a hybrid combination of these models. Parents can pick up a prepackaged, uncooked meal between the hours of 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. on Wednesdays at Burlington High School. You may place your order with the prepackaged meal order form by going to the Burlington Public Schools website, Food Service section. All orders should be placed by Tuesday at 10 a.m. After retiring from her service on the Burlington Conservation Commission after 25 years, Kerry Melanson was honored for her efforts in protecting Burlington's environment. BNews reporter Tad Stefanek has this report.
Commission appreciates your effort.
Retired in late 2018, Kerry Melanson served the town of Burlington for 25 years on the Conservation Commission. Unable to hold a more formal ceremony at Town Hall, Kerry Melanson was honored for her years of dedication right in her own front yard.
I always knew you had done your homework and you had always quite a bit to say when we called upon you. I can still hear your words running through my mind now. You are working too close to the wetlands, you would say. Or the planting plan is insufficient. Or you might say, you propose to take down 20 trees and you're only replacing 5 trees. That is not enough. We prepared a little gift from the commission to you. We have assembled a book of pictures of a few of the commissioners that you've served with and a host of beautiful places of woods, streams, flowers, birds, and things that are endemic to the town of Burlington, and hopefully it will remind you of your contribution to the town.
But you also set the standard for being prepared, always prepared, being very critical in looking at plans and looking at intent to make sure that we were always protecting the wetland and protecting maybe more than we're kind of directed to protect, but it was important in terms of trees and habitats and so forth.
Nobody, I don't think anybody's ever been as dedicated. You rarely missed a site visit, rarely missed meetings except during your winter hibernations when you disappeared to Europe or Florida, but for the rest of the time you were such a dedicated conservation commissioner. And the number of years, I mean, Burlington is so lucky to have you and Indra and Gail and Larry, all of you combined are like probably close to 100 years of service to the town.
It's just so many little comments that you educated me to think. You educated me on the sites to look for something that specifically I had no idea to look for. So you were somewhat my educator.
You set a tone for friendly strictness. You were always consistent, always at meetings, always had something to say, and always had good comments and good questions to make.
BNEWS asked Kerry about her 25 years of experience.
Oh my gosh, to see a lot of the projects come to us in the very beginning. And I know we've changed a lot of things, John, coming around to conservation standards. I mean, they've done it, but we've always tweaked it, which is good. Everything, people, things to, not the work. Spend hours and hours, going over paperwork, but the good results that we get. And if it doesn't happen then we, keep working and sort of work out, can we compromise or we don't compromise, and we get the projects done the right way.
From the front lawn of Kerry Melanson, this is BNEWS.
I hope, someone gets another chance. I didn't. Orally Slowly is the one who talked me into this.
The Burlington Board of Health will be holding a social distanced flu clinic to help prevent the spread of this year's strain. The drive-through flu clinic will be held on October 17th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Burlington High School. All immunizations are free, but you are asked to bring insurance information if available. These are some COVID-19 related instructions. Do not attend if you are ill or have any COVID-19 symptoms. Wear a face mask while in your vehicle unless you cannot due to a medically disabling condition. Remain in your vehicle with the windows closed at all times unless instructed otherwise by flu clinic staff. Finally, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, it is especially important for people to get flu vaccinations this year to prevent unnecessary hospitalizations during the pandemic. The Burlington Parks and Recreation Department is in full gear for the fall season with Trucktober and a slew of Halloween events in the works. For all the latest BNews reporter Robert Parris spoke with Parks and Director Brendan Egan for this week's update. Let's have a look.
The pandemic may have taken a toll on all of us, but the Burlington Parks and Recreation Department is underway with the fall programs. This week, I had a conversation with Burlington Parks and Recreation Director Brendan Egan during our Parks and Recreation COVID-19 update.
Our fall program started this past week on October 5th. We still have openings in some programs, so check out our online offerings. There's something there for everyone. We have both in-person and virtual programming, and we are getting ready for some special events as well.
There is one event that is coming on October 17th.
This year, obviously, with the regulations with COVID-19 and not large gatherings, Trucktober is going to look a little different this year. The day is going to be spread out a little more throughout our parks. Check out the Parks and Recreation Department social media pages. There may be some links on there for some of the vendors' apps, so you can order ahead.
Don't forget to look out for Halloween surprises coming soon.
Well, we might have a little treat in store for you for Halloween coming up, but that you'll have to make sure you keep an eye on our social media pages, and we'll have more information on those happenings coming up. But our program staff is also working on winter special events, tree lighting, things like that. So really keep an eye on our social media. That's where we'll be releasing all of the most up-to-date information and a few surprises.
I'm Robert Paris for BNEWS Weekly.
After months of planning for high school sports, teams were allowed back on the field for the first time. BNews reporter Robert Paris has this look.
Hey everyone, I'm BNews sports reporter Robert Paris, and today I'm here at Varsity Field because Burlington High School fall sports are back for 2020. And I had a chance to talk with Sean Hart and talk a little bit what's going on with the COVID situation and how they're keeping the kids and coaches safe on the field. It took a number of months to plan the 2020 MIAA fall season. Now, athletes and coaches are back on the field, and they got an opportunity to play once again.
It's been a tremendous effort. We're so excited to have been out here again. It was a gorgeous day. I don't know that we could have dialed up a better day, but everybody has had a great hand in it. You know, the superintendent's office doing everything they can to get the kids out here and doing everything they can to keep kids safe. You know, every time an athlete walked on the field, they were sanitizing. Every time they walked off the field, they were sanitizing. They wore their masks the entire game. I give Wilmington and Burlington coaches today a lot of credit for following the rules and really making sure that the kids stuck.
Although the attendance was only for parents, the athletic department was glad to see people coming out and enjoying the atmosphere.
I thought it was great. I think, I think every parent that had the opportunity to come today, we understand the spectator rule is not, the greatest rule in the world. Everybody wants to be here watching their son or daughter play. The bottom line is we're appreciative to the fact that we're getting to play. And we have to give a little to make sure that our kids get a season. And I think our parents were tremendously courteous today. They were super happy that they were out here. I think a lot of parents were just happy to be out of the house watching their son or daughter play a game again.
BHF Athletics wants every athlete to get a chance to compete on the fields.
Right now, I just want to do it well. Again, my expectations for teams right now is have an opportunity to play. That's it. Win, lose, or draw, all the wins are fun. The losses are tough. The draws are what they are. But ultimately, if we can give our kids an opportunity to play sports here in Burlington against Middlesex League Freedom teams, and if we can get one more weekend, 2 more weeks in, and have done it successfully with doing everything we can to handle our business, I don't think that anybody could ask for any more.
From Varsity Field, I'm Robert Paris for BNews Sports.
As just reported by Robert, BHS Sports are back. That means the BNews Sports Report with Liz Gillespie has returned. We go now to the first report of the new season. Let's check it out.
Hey everyone, I'm Liz Gillespie for your weekly sports report. The Burlington Red Devils began their fall season last Saturday, and we have some updates, so let's get to it. The Burlington field hockey team traveled to Wilmington High School to take on the Wildcats last Saturday. The girls didn't do so hot as they suffered a blowout of 5-1. Starting the season with an 0-1 record, the Lady Devils will have their home opener on Saturday, October 10th at Varsity Field at 11 a.m. This game will be live streamed on the BCAT Facebook page. The Red Devils golf team already had 2 meets last week. The first was against the Melrose Red Raiders on September 29th at the Billerica Country Club. The boys gave it their all, but in the end, the team lost 43-30. Then on October 5th, the boys headed to the Hillview Country Club to take on the Wilmington Wildcats. The boys came away with a win in that one with a score of 45.5 to 26.5. Wow. They moved their record on to 1-1 for the season. Boys and girls cross country will begin their season on Saturday, October 10th against Wilmington. Lady Devils will be at Varsity Field and the boys will be in Wilmington. Boys and girls soccer also played the Wildcats. The girls traveled to Wilmington on October 3rd to begin their season. The Lady Devils lost 4-1 against the Wildcats. The team will be having their home opener on Saturday, October 10th at 9 a.m. at the Marshall Simons Middle School. Red Devils soccer opened the season last week at Varsity Field, and we have some highlights, so let's check those out.
It was a busy day as the Burlington boys varsity soccer team had their first game of the 2020 fall season at Burlington High School Varsity Field on Saturday, October 3rd. For their first matchup, They faced off against the Wilmington Wildcats, one of their rivals in the division. Now, let's go to the highlights. In the first half of the game, the Red Devils and Wildcats couldn't score on offense. However, after halftime, the Burlington defense allowed 2 goals to the Wildcats. Two to nothing was the final score, Wilmington. We had a chance to talk to Coach Jacqueline after the game.
Overall, though, I thought we played a little under our level. I wasn't really thrilled with our execution. Effort was there for the majority of the game, but again, the execution piece was lacking. So hopefully that's something that we can correct in practice.
The boys dropped to 0-1 on the season.
For more Red Devil action, go to the BNEWS Sports Hub page at bcattv.org. And that's all for your weekly sports report. I'm Liz Gillespie. Back to you guys in the studio.
We go now to BNews weatherman Peter Brown for a look at this week's forecast. We'll also check out the community calendar with Julie Atwood to see what's happening in Burlington.
Well, hello everyone, this is Peter Brown with a look at your weather for the next 7 days. I know it's hard to believe that we're heading into the middle of October, so fall is definitely marching on by pretty quickly. As we start out our period on Friday, we're supposed to be seeing temperatures at this time of the year in the mid-60s, and it's going to be nearly 10 degrees cooler than on Friday. We're going to have bright sunny skies, a brisk wind, and temperatures only in the mid and upper 50s, so get a hold of that sweater or that light coat and make sure you have it with you. And if you're going out at night, Friday night into early Saturday morning, seeing temperatures way down into the 30s, so a chilly night, but definitely typical for this time of the year. Now, as we go ahead and we look towards the end of our period, getting to the Thursday time frame, we should be seeing temperatures at that time of the year only in the low 60s, and we're probably going to best that by about 10 degrees. That's right, the 70s are heading back to us, and we're actually going to have a fair amount of days this period coming up. We're going to see temperatures well up in the 60s to near 70. So even though fall is coming on by us, late summer weather is still with us. The only reality check to this really is, look at how early the sun is going down at 6:11 at night. We actually only have a couple more days left and the sun will be setting before 6. So as we go ahead, let's take a look at what the Climate Prediction Center is calling for us in terms of temperatures and precipitation over the next 7 days. And again, these maps, nothing to be surprised about, pretty much the same that we've had since Memorial Day. We're looking in the Burlington area and all of New England and actually the eastern 2/3 of the U.S., expecting at or well above average temperatures, so a real summer feel to the air still here in October. And unfortunately, for our precipitation map, there's nothing unexpected there either. Here, especially in southern and eastern New England, we're definitely looking at the chance of below average precipitation, so unfortunately, looks like we have no help in terms of the drought coming up for the next 7 to maybe even out to 10 to 15 days. Doesn't look like we have any organized systems. You're going to have quite a bit of tropical weather in terms of storms and hurricanes down the Gulf, but it doesn't look like any of that precipitation is heading towards New England, unfortunately. So as we go ahead, let's take a look at our 7-day forecast coming up. Again, starting on Friday, our temperatures pretty crisp out there, only in the 50s with a brisk wind and chilly at night. But of course, look at this, as we go into Saturday and Sunday, our temperatures go way back up into the middle 70s. So if you can be out and about this long weekend, enjoy it. It looks like we have some beautiful weather coming for you. Now, as we get towards the end of the period, we're going to be getting, a little bit cooler as we start out the week on Monday and getting into Tuesday. But look at Thursday again. Again, a chance of maybe a few spot showers. Doesn't look like anything really organized, unfortunately, but temperatures, again, well up to near 70. So our temperatures are definitely staying well above where they should be at this time of the year. But unfortunately, our rain is well below. So everyone, get out there, enjoy the weather, and have a great week.
Hi, I'm Julie Atwood, and this is your community calendar. Are you ready for some ghost stories? On Thursday, October 15th at 7 p.m., the Burlington Public Library will be having a virtual event with storyteller Jeff Bellinger about the unexplained. He seeks out history, folklore, ghosts, monsters, and legends from all over the world. Everyone is welcome and pre-registration is required. To register, go to burlington.org. Go and get your annual flu shot. On Saturday, October 17th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., the Burlington Board of Health will be having a drive-through flu vaccine at Burlington High School. For more information, go to the Board of Health section at burlington.org or call 781-270-1955. Grab a bite to eat Also on Saturday, October 17th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m., the Burlington Parks and Recreation Department will be having the Trucktober event at multiple locations. For more information, go to Burlington Recreation Facebook page or call 781-270-1695. I'm Julie Atwood, and that was your community calendar.
Another week, another photo to highlight. This week's photo shows people taking a stand against domestic violence in a colorful way. It was sent in by Burlington High School student May Pandit and shows participants at the Sahali Candlelight Vigil for survivors and victims of domestic violence at the Burlington Police Department. They are all wearing matching purple masks because that is the official color for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and purple lights were also lit during the vigil. Thank you for the photo, Maya. We'd like to see your photos. They could be of your fall activities, a family trip, or just everyday moments, whatever you think is interesting and would like to share. Email your photos to bcat@bcattv.org with the subject line Photo of the Week. And that's it from the news desk here at BNews Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher, along with Rich Hosford, Tad Stefanak, Robert Parris, Chris Flaherty, Jolie Atwood, Liz Gillespie, and Peter Brown. Thank you very much for joining us.